Vlog number 2011, November 22nd, 1708, day 4. If you are new to my channel, the date that I just said is the day in base 12 that I filmed this video. And I always film my videos straight through. I don't do any editing. And if I end up doing editing in the future, then I will definitely say so. You can call me M. Rook. I am an autistic adult. And I talk about things that I consider are important, but also very controversial and, I suppose, dangerous. And this is going to be one of those videos because I'm going to talk about a place that has been referenced in Sumerian literature and also been referenced in various other places, such as ancient history, for example. And that is about the planet Nibiru. And a lot of my information is going to come from zetatalk.com. in case you haven't heard of it yet, because they are highly accurate with their predictions and describe things that the elite would otherwise not describe, at least as of this video. And I think that it's important that I at least get this down on video just to say, yes, I know of it. And yes, I tried talking to people about it. And unfortunately, it seems that the vast majority of people have gone into some state of denial or disbelief regarding Nibiru. So I will just get right into it about Nibiru. Very basically, Nibiru is essentially a brown dwarf, or in other words, a failed star, aka a star that failed to ignite. And it is essentially in a slow smolder that is giving off heat and light, and it is projected to eventually just die off eventually. But there are races that live on that planet, and this planet also exists in third and fourth density simultaneously. In the third density, the race that is on it are known, at least to the Sumerians, as the Anunnaki, the giants. The same giants that, as I mentioned in my previous video, vlog number 2010, the same giants that convinced mankind in the general vicinity of the Middle East to worship them like gods because they had all this fancy technology that mankind could not understand at the time. And this eventually blew way out of proportion to the point where people are essentially praying for a God that is not the one infinite creator that they're thinking of, but instead they are basically giving their energy to the descendants of these giants who are now the world elite. So, that aside, Nibiru has roughly, according to the Zetas, it's 3,657 year orbit on average around our sun and the sun's binary, which is the dark twin. And of course, that dark twin is called such because, it's called such because it doesn't radiate any light whatsoever. This is not to be confused with the Earth's dark twin either, which is another hunk of rock that normally lies in the Earth's orbit but on the opposite side of the sun. And it only gives off a couple of rays of light, such as yellow and blue, and for that reason can be kind of hard to detect. But yeah, Nibiru has essentially arrived in our solar system. It arrived technically at around 2003, although it entered the outer regions years before that. And we're essentially due for what's called a pole shift. And this is the information that the elite is trying to cover up as much as possible It is one of the most dangerous cover-ups out there. And we're due for what's called a pole shift. It's not really about the idea of magnetic poles flipping, such as the north and south magnetic poles flipping. What is being talked about here is Nibiru trying to pass the Earth's orbit. Once it circles the sun and tries to leave the system, it gets into the range of Earth's orbit, but Earth is essentially in its way. And due to the particle flows of the sun and Nibiru itself, it basically creates a traffic jam. Zetalk has all this information and details about it. It gets a little bit complicated, but basically Earth is in its way, and Nibiru is the bigger magnetic bully. It is 23 times the mass of Earth, but 4 times its diameter or so, if I recall. So obviously in the magnetic scale, it wins out. And what happens in the pole shift is eventually the magnetism of Nibiru will essentially clutch the crust of Earth and essentially rip it from its mantle and spin across it like a pottery wheel. And then this will shove the Earth aside, and then Nibiru will basically go on its merry way out of the solar system. And of course, the implications of this are quite drastic, because with the crust breaking from the mantle and swinging about 90 degrees at that speed, it's just going to cause tsunamis all over the place. You're talking like hundreds of feet high. And since most of mankind lives on the coastal areas, the vast majority there will be killed. And those survivors who make their way inland will die either of starvation, inaction, depression, or disease. So those are the big three. It's just inaction, disease, and starvation. Those are the big three. Of course, there's going to be Mad Max-like groups out there, but it'll be far fewer than you're thinking. Not going to be too many, because the amount of logistics it takes to keep such a group intact, and the lack of law means that many will just take advantage of each other, and then eventually they'll just kill each other off. So many people presume that the world that they know, where they're just offered things like food in grocery stores that they don't even have to, grow themselves, or gasoline and all that stuff, they think that's going to continue, but it's not going to continue. This is where people get into denial about a lot of stuff regarding the pole shift. And it just can't handle that reality, the reality of being self-sufficient. It's just too scary for them to even handle. And and one of the big things that's going on right now, as far as in connection with Nibiru, is how can I put this? It's basically a projected adjustment of the New Madrid fault line in North America. And this is the big thing that those in North America are worried about right now. Because once that occurs, essentially, we're not going back to the way we were. And it doesn't matter how much we try to repair. This is going to be so drastic, because what's going to happen is the southeast portion of the United States, which is from the Mississippi River, which is where the New Madrid fault line runs. It goes up from there, and then at the town New Madrid, it goes across eastward through Kentucky, Ohio, and eventually goes up Lake Erie, Niagara Falls to the St. Lawrence Seaway. So that portion is going to slip as it's attached to Africa, and when Africa rolls, that portion is going to follow it. This is going to cause a rip, and the western portion of North America will drop a little bit. So you're going to have the Mississippi River widen in some places by up to 50 miles. That's 50. So this is going to break all the bridges. It's going to break all the pipelines that cross it, and there's a ton of pipelines that cross it from Texas, where much of the oil production in this country is centered. So go figure. So that means, of course, there's going to be gas shortages everywhere. And obviously the priority is going to be diesel, because that's what keeps the country running, and not so much gasoline. So that's something I can say, be advised on that part. But even aside from that, and all the earthquakes it causes, and all the road ruptures it causes, and all the logistic headaches it causes, and all of the down power grids and internet it causes, and just, of course, the general shock that it causes. Nibiru is basically what is responsible, directly or indirectly, for the food problems across the planet, because of the wild weather that's going on. And this wild weather, in turn, is caused by what's called the earth wobble. And this is a whole other thing that's also talked about in Zeta Talk. But basically, as part of the dance that Nibiru and Earth go through, as part of Nibiru's attempt to pass Earth's orbit, it tilts itself and tilts its north pole towards Earth, shoving its magnetons towards Earth. And this, in turn, makes Earth tilt backwards and basically gives it a little bit of a wobble dance. And this is what's responsible for all of the chaotic weather that's been going on, because this essentially slams all these weather systems into each other. And with the Earth wobbling like that, you can suddenly have the land move under warmer or colder air on the lower atmosphere, whereas the upper atmosphere may be doing something completely differently. And as a result, these two drastically different temperature gradients can combine, and lots of nasty storms and other stuff can happen. And that's what's been happening in the past couple decades as the Earth wobble has worsened. So that is essentially the food problem in a nutshell, and all the weird weather as well, which will just get worse. And also the weather will just blend into each other. The seasons will blend into each other because of this Earth wobble as well. So I could go further into it. This is a huge national security issue. This is like one of the biggest cover-ups in the world today is Nibiru's existence and what it means for mankind and what it's going to do to mankind's civilization. It is one of the biggest cover-ups. It's right up there with the alien cover-up. At least with the alien cover-up, that stuff is coming out. So, albeit a little bit slowly, because unfortunately with Nibiru, because you've got the Anunnaki living in Nibiru, it's automatically tied with the alien cover-up. So this is one of the reasons why the elite are having a hard time, or at least the people that want this stuff to come out, and some of the elite are trying to, keep it from coming out there. There's a bit of a war going on there, but they're having a hard time getting the alien stuff out, because that automatically means, oh, what if the giant Anunnaki come out too, because we have to talk about Nibiru. So they're intrinsically tied together. And as far as a bit of history is concerned, NASA, aka not a space agency, detected Nibiru in December 1983 through a infrared balloon aloft, if I recall correctly. That's when it was first detected. This is in a newspaper article, and it was quickly silenced by an executive order by Reagan at the time. And that order, as far as I know, as of this video, is still enforced. And so it cannot be talked about as of yet until, I am guessing, this executive order is reversed. So, yeah, that's the reason for that. JFK got assassinated because he was going to talk about the alien presence. So, of course, Reagan goes and does that with Nibiru because, 2 + 2 is 4. So, there's that. Okay, well, I would like to talk more about Nibiru stuff, but this video is getting pretty long, so I'm thinking we're going to end it on that note. But yeah, just to let you know, one of the reasons why the world seems so crazy and so illogical is because so many people are noticing how, nature itself is just not being the way it is. And they don't see any solutions or actions or answers coming from the establishment that they essentially look up to, like mother and father, for some reason. But I go over this in previous videos as to why they do this. So instead, they put it in the back of their minds and try to get along with their day. But the thing is, this is denial, and denial takes up a lot of mental energy. And when the denial becomes more and more difficult to maintain, they start to act crazier and crazier and crazier. And then it's like, where's the tipping point, you know? When they reach the tipping point, will they be aware of the fact that they're at a tipping point? Or are they going to be aware of their own actions? So many of them are not going to be. That's a scary thing. They may be far gone by that point, but maybe some people can be rescued to that end. But yeah, okay. I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and have a good day.